Let's do something together for a moment. I want you to just close your eyes for a second, unless you're driving, and I want you to picture yourself 5 years from now. Close your eyes and picture yourself 5 years from now. You're waking up with purpose. You're doing work that lights you up. You're using your gifts and feeling energized instead of drained. What does that version of you look like? Where are you at? Who are you surrounded by? How do you feel when you end your day? Now take a breath and come back to today. That's a lot to think about, right? What's one small step, one small tiny step you can take right now to move toward that version of you? Not next week, not when you feel ready, today. Maybe it's calling and scheduling that coffee chat we've talked about. Maybe it's updating your resume. Maybe it's just giving yourself permission to dream again. That's a really great start. Whatever it is, take that step. Welcome to the Workforce Link podcast, where we're offering forward-thinking conversations for the workforce, linking employers and job seekers to a brighter tomorrow. I'm your host, Sundi Jo with the Central Workforce Development Region, and today we're digging into something that can feel terrifying and exhilarating all at the same time: the career shift. So maybe you're feeling restless in your current role. Maybe you're waking up dreading the workday, not because it's necessarily hard, but because it's just not you anymore. Or maybe you're just curious, wondering what else is out there and if you are meant for more. So if you've ever asked yourself, is this really it? Or maybe you felt a tug to step into something new, you are not alone. Pivoting can feel like standing at the edge of a cliff sometimes, but I promise you this: the leap doesn't have to be as scary when you've got the right tools and the right mindset. So before we dive in, I want to ask you a quick favor. If this podcast has encouraged you, I would love for you to take a moment to share it. Leave a rating, write a quick review. That's how we get the word out to keep these conversations going. And your support really does make a difference. So we appreciate that in advance. All right, let's get straight into it. Grab your coffee, settle in. Let's have a real conversation about finding your purpose and doing work that actually lights your soul on fire. So why do we even think about pivoting in the first place? What is it about our current roles that make us pause and say, hey, something here isn't working? Well, often it's the signs show up before we're actually ready to admit them. You're no longer challenged, maybe. You feel disconnected, or maybe you've got that heavy, that familiar Sunday night feeling that creeps in like clockwork, and you wake up with the Monday regrets. You wake up Monday and you're like, oh, not again. Maybe that sounds familiar to you. I have talked to a lot of people that have been there. On paper, the job looks great, pays the bills, it's stable, it checks all the boxes. But deep down, they feel this gnawing emptiness. And there's this whisper that says, hey, you were made for more. And the longer they ignore it, the louder that whisper gets. Until, guess what? It can't be ignored anymore. Maybe you've got that whisper too. But here's the truth, okay? Life is too short to spend it on autopilot. I'm going to say that again. Life is too short to spend it on autopilot. So if something inside you is nudging you to explore a different path, listen to my friend, don't brush it off, because that nudge might just be the beginning of something beautiful for you. So ask yourself this question: what's the whisper I've been ignoring? What's the whisper I've been ignoring? Because sometimes that whisper holds the key to our next chapter. And guess what? You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be brave enough to listen. So when is the right time to pivot? So maybe you're feeling the pull, but how do you know if it's the right time to make a change? Here are a few things to reflect on. Ask yourself this: have your values or your priorities shifted? Maybe what mattered to you, 5 years ago isn't what matters to you now. And that's okay, because we all have different seasons of doing things, right? So ask yourself that. What season of life are you in? Sometimes the desire to pivot comes from a deep change that's happening outside of your career. Maybe parenthood, maybe burnout, maybe a loss, something like that. And it's okay to acknowledge that those shifts in life that happen, those seasons, shape the way we see our future. Maybe you're experiencing temporary frustration or long-term misalignment. Maybe one is a bump, maybe the other is a warning sign. Well, you got to pay attention. Ask yourself this: are you financially prepared? Here's the thing, I'm not going to sugarcoat this because career pivots can come with a risk, right? But here's the thing: risk becomes manageable when you prepare. Risk becomes manageable when you prepare. So start saving, build a side hustle, give yourself a runway. Don't just be like, oh, I'm quitting my job, I'm out of here, and best of luck, we'll just see how it happens. Don't do that, okay? You're going to set yourself up for failure. Prepare, okay? You've got to prepare. Hey, friend, quick break from the episode to ask you something important. Do you know your why? Not why did I do that dumb thing, but why do I want something different? One of my favorite quotes says this: you lose your way when you lose your why. And let me tell you this: everything changes when you start asking the right questions. And that's why we created a free resource called How to Find Your Why. It's a simple guide to help you rediscover what drives you so you can move forward with purpose. You can download it right now at cwdregion.com/why, and I will share the link to that in the show notes for you. Hold on to your why like your life depends on it, because my friend, it does. Now, back to the show. Are there open doors in your new field? Have you done the research? Do you know what excites you about the new space? And also, here's something important. Again, I've said this already, but you don't have to quit your job tomorrow to start pivoting, okay? Take a class, volunteer, start conversations, reach out to somebody that's doing the same kind of work that maybe you're interested in. Ask them about their journey. Just one coffee chat can open doors, I'm telling you, that you didn't even know existed, that you least expected. And if you want to go deeper on that, we actually talk about that in episode 48, where we talk about the power of networking. And I will include the link to that episode in the show notes for you. It's episode 48 on the power of networking. But don't wait for perfect clarity before taking your first step, because sometimes clarity is what you find on the way, right? Not before you begin. You find it on the way, not before you begin. Okay. So now ask this question: what's holding you back? Is it fear of failure? Is it fear of the unknown? Is it fear that you're too late? Fear that you're not enough? I hear this all the time: I'm too old to make changes. That is so not true. That's an excuse. That's all it is an excuse. But fear is normal, right? Fear shows up anytime that we step outside of the familiar. But here's the thing: growth rarely feels comfortable, right? It's going to stretch us. Growth stretches us. It messes with our routines. It challenges what we thought we knew about ourselves. But that discomfort that you feel, it's not an enemy. It's a sign that you're moving. It's a sign that you're stepping into something bigger than you've known before. You're not just shifting careers, you're shifting identity. And you are becoming the next version of who you're called to be, a new season, right? And hear me on this: that version of you is worth fighting for. All right, so let's talk about how to actually make the leap. Let's talk about some practical steps without falling flat, how we make the leap without falling flat. Step one, you want to get clear on your why. So what's fueling this change? Is it more freedom? Is it a desire to make a bigger impact? Is it the need to finally do work that aligns with your values? One of my favorite quotes: you lose your way when you lose your why. So you have to ask yourself that question. Not why did I do that stupid thing, but why do I want to do something different? Everything changes when we start asking ourselves that vital question. So if you want help figuring that out, check out episode 1, all the way back to episode 1 of the Workforce Link. We dive deep into how to find your why. We started this podcast out with that. Let's find our why. And also I have a link for a free download in the show notes. It's called How to Find Your Why. It's a simple guide to help you get started. So step number 1, get clear on your why. Step number 2, identify your transferable skills. So you're not starting over, right? You're starting from experience. The skills that you've built so far, guess what? They still matter. You're going to need them. They just need a new context. And so maybe you're a teacher. Maybe you're going to move into corporate training. Let's use that as an example. So a stay-at-home parent maybe returns to project management. A retail manager steps into HR. A ministry leader moves into nonprofit strategy. All of those paths, they require communication, right? They require leadership. They require problem solving. They require emotional intelligence. And those are skills that you likely use every day already without even realizing it. So if you're not sure what your transferable skills are, I want you to just take 5 minutes, write down everything you do in a typical week, whether that's organizing events, whether that's mentoring people, managing schedules, navigating tough conversations. Write those down. You'll be really surprised once you actually have it out in front of you. There's more value in your experience than you're giving yourself credit for. I would almost bet that. And this is a big thing. If imposter syndrome tries to creep in, don't let it win, okay? Because you have more to offer than you think. So, step 2, identify your transferable skills. Step number 3, build your network. We talked about this just a little bit, but find mentors, have coffee chats, invite people to coffee, join groups in your desired industry. People are more open to helping you than you might think. They're just waiting for us to ask. Send a simple message like, hey, I really admire the work that you're doing. I'm exploring a transition. I'd love to hear how you got started. That saying something like that in your own words, that can go a long, long way. And also, I know reaching out at first can feel awkward, but connection is one of the most powerful tools that you have when making a career shift. It really, really is. And we dive deep into how to build and nurture those connections in episode 48 of the podcast on the power of networking. I've talked about that already, but again, I will share the link for that in the show notes. So, step number 3, build your network. Hey, before we move on, I've got a quick tip for you if you're feeling stuck in your job or thinking about making a career shift. Don't do it alone. The job centers in the central region are here to walk alongside you. Whether you need help figuring out your next move, updating your resume, preparing for interviews, finding training opportunities in a new field. And here's the best part. These services are completely free. So if you're ready for a change, but you don't know where to start, let us help you build your plan and move forward with confidence. You can find your nearest job center or learn more at cwdregion.com/job centers, and I will share the link to that in the show notes for you. Your next step could be one conversation away. Okay, step number 4, adopt a growth mindset. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to second guess yourself. You're probably going to have moments where you wonder, what in the world was I thinking? And guess what? That's all part of it. But hear me clearly in this. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is, right? Perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. So stumble, learn, adjust, keep going. Okay. And every successful career pivot that I've seen, mine included, has been built on a trail of tiny course corrections, not one big, ginormous, flawless leap, right? That's not how it works. Okay. So let's do something together for a moment. I want you to just close your eyes for a second, unless you're driving. And I want you to picture yourself 5 years from now. Close your eyes and picture yourself 5 years from now. You're waking up with purpose. You're doing work that lights you up. You're using your gifts and feeling energized instead of drained. What does that version of you look like? Where are you at? Who are you surrounded by? How do you feel when you end your day? Now take a breath and come back to today. That's a lot to think about, right? What's one small step, one small tiny step you can take right now to move toward that version of you? Not next week, not when you feel ready, today. Maybe it's calling and scheduling that coffee chat we've talked about. Maybe it's updating your resume. Maybe it's just giving yourself permission to dream again. That's a really great start. Whatever it is, take that step, because the life that you're dreaming about is not going to happen overnight, but it will happen one faithful step at a time. Okay. All right. Now let's do a quick recap before we wrap up on how to know when it's time to make a career shift and how to do it well. So we talked about why that whisper for change matters. And we talked about how it could be the beginning of something beautiful. So we talked about the why. We looked at when to make that move, right? We talked about shifting values, seasons of life, financial readiness, the importance of taking baby steps, even when you're in your current role. So we talked about the why, the when. Now let's talk about the how. Well, we talked about the how. Let's recap the how. So we got to get clear on our why, right? Remember, we've got a full episode and a free download to help you do that. You've got to identify your transferable skills, right? Because you're not starting over, you're starting from experience. You've got to lean into your network. So you got to connect, ask questions, start conversations. Again, we covered that deeply in episode 48. And finally, you've got to adopt a growth mindset. Progress, not perfection. Remember that. Progress, not perfection. One small step at a time. So you don't need to have it all figured out today, okay? You just got to take that one next right step. And a pivot isn't about running away. It's running toward who you're becoming. So if this episode stirred something in you, I would love to hear from you. Reach out on any of our social media platforms or email us at sundijo@cwdregion.com. And don't forget to check out the show notes for links in the resources that I mentioned. And hey, if you're listening to all this and you're thinking, okay, I'm ready, but I have absolutely no idea where to start. Guess what? You don't have to figure it out alone. We have dedicated staff across the Central Region who are here to help you navigate your next step. Whether you're exploring a new career path, you're switching industries, or you just need some guidance, we've got you covered. From career assessments to on-the-job training, we've got work experience programs, we've got youth services. We offer a variety of tools to help you move forward with confidence. So just head to cwdregion.com. You can learn more about all that and how to reach out. Have a great week, my friend, and we will meet again in the next episode. Until then, remember this: there's always a brighter tomorrow if you're willing to find it. The Central Region Workforce Development Board Incorporated and COPIC are equal opportunity employers and programs. Auxiliary aids and services are available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Missouri Relay Services at 711.